Hey, my name's Shanshan. I sell art on shanshan.co. Today we're going to review A Quiet Place Part 2. So this is a continuation of A Quiet Place, which came out last year. This got delayed on the release because of COVID. It was supposed to release, I think, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. I'm not sure, but it was going to come out, and then all of a sudden they pulled it because all the cinemas closed and the cinemas slow open. They were getting a lot of really bad audience attendance. It's interesting now because you see in the previews all these films now are like, "Oh, thank you for coming to the cinema." All these poor actors are like begging, "Please come to the cinema. There's my bonus right there." But I mean, it's a reality. I mean, if they don't get people in the cinema's going to go under. So that's fine. Have a soft sell and please come to the cinema. I mean, if they cut all the commercials out and just had 5 minutes of previews like they used to, you could get way more people to the cinema, right? You're competing against HDTV where you can download instantly with no previews. So why would you have previews at all? It's like these guys just don't get it. But yeah, that's another separate issue on how people run the cinema business and don't get how you should probably cut all that beginning off and make the cinema experience way more enjoyable. The ads is really killing the cinema business, I think, with that 40 minutes of advertising. So this is directed by John Krasinski. So he was the writer-director last time. It's a continuation, which is great. The time is 1 hour and 37 minutes. So right at that sweet spot, I like 1.5 hours. If you can make it really tight, it's a really great effect, I think. Just right before you get like that, oh, I gotta pee my pants. So, it stars Emily Blunt as Evelyn Abbott, the main character. She's the wife. John Krasinski comes back. Lee Abbott, he was killed in the first film, but they kind of show like a flashback scene. So I wasn't sure they need that scene, but they kind of pulled it in. There is a reason why they have it, so I think it makes sense. You have Millicent Simmonds plays Regan Abbott, their deaf child, who obviously it's really cool. They show her as deaf, and they show it in the film where they cut the soundtrack and they count the music, and you're like, oh my god. And so there's a kind of special thing there going. Noah Jupe plays Marcus Abbott, the younger brother. Cillian Murphy plays Emmett, this neighbor of theirs that is introduced in the flashback scene. So Evelyn, the mother, she's abandoning the family house to go to the next fire point. They go to the fire point to find some help. And they get to this old abandoned kind of factory. And there's all this metal work. And so it's very strong against alien attack if you get inside these metal cylinders that are used for like the blast furnace and stuff. And that's how this guy, Emmett, has survived. And they run into him. He's like, oh, I can't help you. You got to get out next day. And they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And in the meantime, the daughter figures out that the signal that they're using from her ear from the first film, which, scares away the aliens if you broadcast it loud, they got like a portable speaker, and now they're able to kind of blast portably as they go along. Who knows how they charge it, but that's a plot hole right there. But, they're able to travel with this device, and she figures out, oh, well, what if we get this to a radio station or something? And they discover this radio signal, and they're like, okay, we're going to go on our journey radio signal, and then hopefully we can, go from there, right? So it's kind of sets it up for the rest of the story. So let's get into the meat of the analysis. So some of the marketing, they obviously have to sell the film, get, people into the cinema. They have some of the best jump scares as far as when she initially triggers the bottle runs and the aliens almost get her with the kid, and you're like, oh my God, are they going to survive? And I think they also use the suggestion that the people that they run into in the future are going to be really crazy, right? They're not the same as they used to be before they were in the farm, which would make sense because they're in a farm, they have plenty of food, and people in the cities would be really desperate, and who knows what they resorted down to. So they have those two, just enough to kind of get you into the movie, but it kind of leaves you with the expectation that the people are going to be really gruesome, and they're not so gruesome as you think. So you're kind of like, that could have been... they're trying to keep it PG-13, because like if you take like a book like The Road, say per se, where they're eating people and stuff, that's definitely an R, almost X-rated. So they probably want to keep it a PG-13. It's the ideal audience for this is 14 to 20 probably. I mean, I love that kind of film, but that 14 to 20 is like really when you go on a date with your girlfriend or boyfriend and you want to be scared to death and then kiss and then get scared to death and kiss and whatever, right? There's a repeat of them being chased by the aliens, which are great scenes. You want to see those. Nothing new here. There's this really cool effect in Act 3 where they find this mysterious island where apparently the aliens can't swim. So you get to the island and the people are kind of living a normal life, and you're like, what is this? So that's a really kind of fun thing in Act 3. It doesn't last long, but it's kind of a nice effect. But the weird thing about that scene is, why didn't the aliens just, once they cleaned up the land, why didn't they get back in their ships and go to these little islands and wipe out the people? Do they not know about these? You know, it's kind of weird, you know, because they arrived by alien technology somehow. So there's a little bit of plot hole there. Yeah, they have this portable blaster with the hearing aid hooked up to the speaker was a kind of a really interesting device that they could travel along with. And they abandoned the farm where they're at, and the only thing that's burned is really the barn. And it's like, you can kind of rebuild the barn. Well, I don't know if you can rebuild the barn, but you still have that protection. So I guess they lost their shelter in the sense they can't go underground, but they have the house. Like, I don't know. It seems like you could rebuild the basement in the house. I don't know. But it seems like they should have had a little bit of follow-up from the first one, where the end, where all the aliens come in the house. And in this one, they just showed the one alien. But if you saw the original A Quiet Place, there was several aliens converging, and so the aliens should have really destroyed the house. And if that had been the case, maybe show a little bit of that, or show that the house had been really ravaged and it was just totally unusable. I think that would have made more sense when they abandoned the house. I'm kind of left with, like, did they really need to abandon the house? They had corn and food right there, right? It would have been nice also, I think, to show maybe the alien spacecraft on the inside, like how they got there, why they came there. You know, just a little bit of that tech would have been kind of cool, because in the first one you don't see it, you don't really need it per se, but in the Act 2, or the version 2, you have to add a little bit more to the story than was in the Act 1, and really they're just kind of using the aliens tech here, the aliens tech there, and you don't have the spacecraft to kind of add and amplify the story a little bit. So that would have been kind of nice, I think, to add maybe the spacecraft. Not necessary, but it would have added a little more depth to kind of the separate version 1, version 2. You can see this in Alien and Aliens. So in the first Alien, it's just one alien upon the mothership, and they're trapped in the ship, right? And the aliens, they're trapped on the whole planet, and they have to figure out a way to get off the ship, and then the alien follows them, obviously. But there's multiple aliens, right? And you have the mother alien, so there's a lot of variety to the aliens. So that's a really great transition from the 1 to the 2. And this one, it's like aliens here, aliens there. You know, there's nothing more than that except that this portable kind of weapon they have. So it's a little bit of a short downfall, I would say, as far as like you want kind of something different in the version 2. Another thing I think they could have added on the end of the story is, obviously they make it to the radio broadcaster and they're able to start broadcasting the signal, is to have them kind of reach other cities and start to see an effect in other cities. That would have been kind of a more grand crescendo of an ending of part 2. Maybe they're saving this for part 3 if there's a third part. And the third part would be, obviously, get to the cities or some military base and get this hooked up to the satellites. And then, obviously, they could take out the aliens. That could be like a really masterful part 3. Obviously, that would be way more costly, because you'd have to have way more CGI on the spacecrafts and all that. And the aliens maybe have way more CGI costs. I'm not sure. Is there enough there for part 3? Maybe you could do that way. I don't know. There might be some interest. I don't know. You know, the feeling I got was I was all built up last year for Quiet Place when it was supposed to come out in the early 2020, I think. Or maybe the end of 2019. I'm not sure. I remember exactly. But, you know, that timing was perfect because you're still geared up off the first one. I saw the first one again. So then when I came to the second one, I'm kind of like, I kind of know the monsters and they're not that scary, right? But so they might have had just that time difference made the kind of part 2 kind of fall flatter than it would have. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. It's definitely fun to see. Not as strong as the first one. It has a typical sequel problem of, you know, living up as cool as the first one. You know, a lot of the jump scares you're gonna kind of expect in the second one. So there's not a lot of different variety. You don't see the monster spaceship to kind of add something more. You do have this kind of fun flashback to the first day. They could have added a little bit more there if they wanted to, but they didn't. They kept a really tight timing, so that was nice. But yeah, it's a nice, fine film. I don't know if they left enough to do a part 3. Maybe they will. Who knows? But I recommend it. Still a fun movie. Not as strong as the first one, but definitely good. If you'd like to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.